Welcome to Own Your Zone podcast, where we feature venture capitalists, innovators, angels, and other investors who create positive impact globally. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hi, I'm JiNan, Glasgow, George. I'm a patent attorney and founder at Neo IP Law Firm, where we help clients maximize their return on investment for patent assets. I'm the host of this show, and we feature venture capitalists, private equity and angel investors, and innovators. Today, I'm excited. We have on the show Cole Crawford, who is CEO and founder of Vapor.io. It's a fiber and data center business. They are re-architecting internet at the edge, empowering a generation of applications for good. Welcome, Cole.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm going to make a brief sponsorship. The episode is brought by Neo IP, where we're helping companies increase their valuation and protect their business through strategic planning of IP, intellectual property assets. We provide legal services and strategy featuring patent forecast software. Learn more about us at neoipassets.com. All right, Cole, welcome again to Own Your Zone podcast. You've had an extraordinary career in tech. How'd you get started?
Oh, wow. Very, very randomly. In fact, I fought against my career in tech almost violently. I had ambitions to be a pro tennis player. And while I was very good I learned to program at a very young age. My uncle taught me QBasic when I was 10 or 11. I really actively tried to stay away from computers, but
wow.
One day I walked into actually my little brother's room, and he was with a friend, and they had this blue screen, and I thought it was sort of the blue screen of death that you see, or you used to see a lot in Windows, but it wasn't. It was the installer for a new operating system, or fairly new operating system at the time, called Linux. And I was just fascinated by, how it was distributed, the philosophy behind it. There's a whole subculture dedicated to a specific distribution of Linux called Slackware, which is actually associated with this other subculture called Church of the Subgenius.
Yeah.
And that's how I got into Linux that way. And then as I was going to school and thinking through what I wanted to do when I grow up, a lot of things just fell into place for me to continue down the tech path.
Awesome. What a great start. Well, we met in person and spoke at the Intelligent Infrastructure Conference in Austin, Texas, earlier this year in 2022. And I know Vapor.io had a leading presence there. You were speaking throughout the conference. Tell us a little bit more about your company, your innovation, and also why is intellectual property important to you?
Yeah, it's happy to. So we started Vapor at really at the end of 2014, beginning of 2015. And as you know, starting companies, when you start and when you get funded are two different dates.
Yeah.
So we definitely started before we were funded, but we had an idea that there was a lot of trade secret capability, but there's also a lot of patented capabilities that could be created in an offering that looked more platform centric than sort of the call it verticals within the data center industry or within the connectivity industry. So you have fiber companies, and you have data center companies, and you have telemetry companies and instrumentation companies, but there was never a platform that kind of gave you all aspects of that. Out of that work came lots of patents now that Vapor owns. I think we're a 60 employee company. I think we have 400 and something patent claims. I mean, we've got some pretty incredible patent claims out there, lots of issued patents. We really just saw that there was a consolidation of not just OEMs. Obviously there was Facebook played a huge role in the democratization of server hardware, which, little shameless plug, I ran. I was the executive director of the Open Compute project for Facebook, but it was, again, like Linux, it was a big initiative that was meant to democratize access to hardware and allow corporations to more easily control their supply chain and their costs. And so the mission, the open source side of that mission resonated with me. But people often mistake open source for being like free as in beer, but it is not that. It is like free in thought, right? It is you can patent around open. And we just saw an opportunity to take a lot of yet to be built technology, patent it, and then roll it out in the industry.
Mm-hmm. And you've consistently been doing that since you started, right?
We have, I think, of the issued patents, I'd say 70% of them have some kind of CIP right now, continuation in part. Yeah. And I think we've got 4 or 5 provisionals right now that are in various states of their process. And then of the ones that we think really matter internationally, we have we're going through the reciprocity sort of patent process for international. So yeah, we do focus a lot on IP and patents, and it's continuous.
The alignment with your business as you grow and as maybe you pivot, and technology, of course, continually changing. You're inventing new solutions all the time. I like your comment about combining trade secret plus patent. That is always a winning combination. When we met at the conference, we did a lot of focus on edge computing, right? And there's that word is out there and about, but certainly edge computing seems to be very important now to the digitization economy, IoT, wireless communication. What are some of the key trends that you're observing, or maybe just thoughts you have on the role of true edge compute today?
Yeah. So I've had a difficult relationship with the term edge because I don't know where the edge of the internet is. As I think about the thing we've already built, right, which is probably the biggest thing humans will ever build. Yeah. We build a new space station at some point in the future. That's going to be part of an internet, right? It'll be part of this big machine that we've built. So it really depends on what you mean by edge. We like to think of the edge as something that can be measured, analyzed, and reacted against. And that, that edge might be a geographical edge, that might be a latency-based edge, that might be, a data sovereignty-based edge, or data provenance. So that's how we kind of think about it. We want to obviously continue scaling our own business. And I don't think, by no means are we the only company that has all the answers for, what edge computing should be. This is going to take, I want to say it was Peter Levine from Andreessen Horowitz. I could have that wrong, but a few years ago, somebody from Andreessen Horowitz said that over the next 10 to 15 years, edge will have, double to triple the amount of capital invested in it than the cloud had invested in it since inception. And that's a ton of money, right? There's a lot of capital that will be invested into infrastructure that can support things like ultra low latency, things that can support, guaranteed quality of service for a network link, et cetera. And ultimately, whatever the SLA is going to govern, right? Whether if that SLA is performance based or if it's uptime based or however that SLA gets written, I think that's probably what I think about in terms of edge being the most useful for enterprises over the next 5 years.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wow, that's a staggering capital comparison to cloud for sure. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but besides Vapor, any other companies we should be keeping our eye on in edge?
Well, I mean, certainly EdgeX, very interesting company. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen. Obviously, when we built Open Compute, we knew exactly what we were building. We knew exactly what was going to happen. That happened. When hyperscale cloud companies sort of decide to take on an industry, you can absolutely pick 75%, 80% of most publicly traded companies, and the concept of cost of capital is a thing. Like, that's a thing that gets measured.
Yeah.
For Amazon, I don't know the cost of capital is a thing, or Google. I don't know that, Google tries so many things and is willing to fail at so many things before they find what works, that I don't think that has the same meaning. I mean, it might get measured, but it probably doesn't have the same meaning as 100% of all global telcos. Right? All global telcos think about cost of capital, just like most other companies, of course. I mean, it doesn't mean that they're not successful. But I'm always very interested to see what happens to industries when hyperscale clouds decide to go into those industries. But that presents, if you actually look at the opportunities for MSPs and smaller players that have a niche, they make the total addressable market that much bigger. And then the niche that startups and others can come into, your service obtainable market gets better. So, I like to say the rising tide raises all boats, and I think that's true for these industries that hyperscale want to get into. But certainly the CDNs have an interesting space in the edge. In fact, I think I remember. I think Akamai actually calls their employee conference or their developer conference Edge. And I think they've called it that for forever. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see, but what I'm most excited about is what enterprises will do with licensed spectrum, where they can build their own sort of what's called a thick MVNO. They can run their own sort of networks. And obviously companies like EdgeX or Vapor or other bare metal cloud companies or hyperscale cloud companies can provide them solutions to do that if they don't have the architects to do that on staff. But I think we're definitely in the early innings, maybe towards the more middle of the ball game now, in enterprises choosing a path for how to build next generation wireless or private networks, wireless or wireline private networks. Yeah, and I think that will play a major role in this architecture that is the internet, that absolutely needs to be updated.
Yeah, for sure. I also think of with the dynamic spectrum sharing as a necessity, you have to have the ultra low latency, ultra high reliability, or you can't manage that. So I think Edge has a role there for sure.
100%.
Yeah. Interesting. So I know you've raised a lot of capital in your business, over 200 million, I think, in Vapor, strategic corporate investment, as well as venture capital in Berkshire. What other VC firms do you admire or even participate in?
I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time out in Silicon Valley. I started a company with the former CTO of NASA Ames, who's now a CEO of a publicly traded rocket company. So pretty cool career arc there too. And then coming out of the working with the Department of Defense on the creation of OpenStack, and then building Open Compute, I spent a lot of time with a lot of VCs, talking through different potential existing portfolio companies or potential new investments. I don't know that I would. It's a little bit cliche because everyone loves them for their investment theses, but Andreessen does it right. I mean, Andreessen really does it right. They engage, they're active. They had a contrarian view of investing from the beginning, which always kind of resonated with me. But look, VCs are designed to help a young entrepreneur, build their Rolodex and build their business, right? Invest in the team. I mean, the one thing that's true about VCs is they're investing in the team and they're investing in the founders, founder or founders before they're investing in the idea, right? The idea is going to pivot. It always pivots. Vapor's my 7th startup.
Yeah.
And I never got the first iteration correct of any one of those 7 startups. In fact, 3 of those startups failed miserably. You always pivot. So too many great VCs out there to list. Of course, I would call out now no longer around, but Austin Ventures, which was the company that invested in Vapor early on, the founding partner that invested. Really, all money is green if you know how to write a good term sheet.
Fair point on that, for sure. Now, you're also a super angel, right? Are you very active as an angel investor?
Not anymore. I used to be really active in that space. I placed a lot of bets, around, and I wanted to be really active with the founders that, I helped. I wanted to mentor them. I wanted to, play a big supporting role in what they were doing. With COVID, and I have now two girls, 2 and 1.
Nice.
And then of course, my job, right, is getting more complex. I definitely don't spend as much time in that space as I used to. Also, the space that I chose, which largely was crypto, is not doing so well right now.
Fair point there.
So, but I think that'll rebound. I really do think that because the underlying technology, the blockchain, is going to be, it'll be very pervasive in 20 years. Some aspect of your life will be governed by a blockchain.
I agree with that for sure. Let me pivot for a second. I really enjoyed our conversation in Austin. And one of the things that we have in common is a keen interest in longevity and truly proactive care for obtaining and maintaining good health and wellness. What sparked your interest there?
Oh man, I don't, again, it's a little bit of a rabbit hole. But when I was, I don't think I've ever shared this with anybody, and I would share it with however many people see this video. In my teens, I was playing tennis, very, very competitive, but I was probably, one of the only top 5, top 10 nationally ranked tennis players with long black hair. I put up in a ponytail. But in my late teens, I kind of rebelled against my parents, and I, went full goth. And part of that whole rebellious act was it really got me into Egyptology, and onks and like eternal life on Earth, and the concept, and I won't say the achievable concept, but the concept of immortality just really, and that has fueled since then, that has fueled interest in just, consciousness and kind of, the human condition, right? And a good friend of mine who happens to be a PhD in biochemistry, clinical pathology, master's in biology, and soon to be a master's in clinical psychology, plus an MBA. Overachiever for sure.
Yeah.
He once said to me, and it really stuck with me. It was in Barcelona at Mobile World Congress probably 5 years ago. He said, Cole, the majority of people on the earth are going to die in pain, and they're going to die alone. And that's either from heart disease or cancer, et cetera. So much of the world doesn't have access to the care that, the Western world does, and to some extent the Eastern world. the philosophies of Western and Eastern medicine are, obviously entirely different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I ended up really finding the journey of an integrative, path of preventative healthcare mixed with, active, reactive healthcare. It's just something that has always been with me. I mean, I wanted to be a doctor. Again, one of the things that I wanted to do, if tennis wasn't going to work out, computers weren't going to work out, I was going to fall back to like medical school.
Okay.
And so health has always been top of mind for me. And I think being an elite athlete also just, made me very aware of your body. Now being a middle-aged father of a 1 and 2 year old, biologically, it's very important for me to stay active and stay in shape and, make sure that, as I bend over a million times to pick up my 1 year old, that I'm not, throwing out my back, which I totally abused playing tennis. So it's just a really fascinating, the health, you've heard it, it's so cliche. You've heard it a million times. If you don't have your health, you have nothing.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
You can have all the money in the world. And if you're in constant pain, that money is going to bring you zero happiness. So I truly think that everything else in your life that can be positive only is positive because you have your health, or you have, and this is an aspect of health that is more mental than physical, you have radical acceptance, of your physical health. So you might be able to be happy, assuming you can radically accept that you are not physically well. And so, the whole mind, body, spirit connection, I don't want to get too far out there because I believe in a lot of clinical stuff. In fact, I do want to mention this. Just today, I was having a conversation with our chief marketing officer. We don't have a term in the data center or connectivity industry that is an analog to like sensitivity and specificity in medicine. Actionable data, right, that has a confidence interval and other sort of things that are standard practice in health that we don't have in IT. But if like just as an example, if what EdgeX does is silicon and processing, and that's like a neurological system, right? And if what Vapor does is like keep fiber, keep the bits flowing, that's like a cardiovascular system.
Yeah.
These are analogs, right? I mean, the health of a connectivity platform and data center platform can absolutely be compared to like how the human body works. So I'm fascinated across the board by all things, what keeps the blood flowing and what keeps the bits processing.
I love that. Yeah, I've been sort of accused of studying a lot of things. I, of course, engineering, law, and I have a master's in theology from Duke University. It's always fascinating to me how much our minds can affect our bodies and our health. And yoga and meditation, always good. Learning new things. Music. You're a musician, right? I think I've heard a rumor about that. All good for us in many ways. And of course, with our health, our brains matter so much. Really fascinating. I love this. So give me a sense of your vision for the next 20 years of Cole Crawford.
Oh, man.
What's up and coming for you?
20 years. Man, I hope in 20 years I'm retired.
Okay.
I don't want to be working at 65 if I don't have to be. But between now and over the next 20 years, I think there's a lot left to build in terms of really, again, democratizing and bringing about, connectivity that so you might think, oh yeah, I have, I'm watching this podcast, or I'm watching, Netflix, or I'm watching YouTube, or I'm watching whatever. The reality is the vast majority of the world doesn't have that.
Yeah.
So I think that there's absolutely a digital divide that needs to be fixed. And I want to help fix that, obviously, with investors.
Yeah.
investors, I don't know that investors just invest in, 501c3s. They may, but probably not. I've never invested in a 501c3.
Yeah.
So there's investors, and when you set out to build a startup, there's commercial interests, right? There's a return on invested capital, but that doesn't mean you can't do a social good
That's right.
during that as well. So, and for me, that social good is bringing about education. The reason why so much of the world, the mortality rates of people in the West versus rural parts of pick a country that isn't a first world country, a lot of that is due to education. There's so many people, even in America. I don't know. Well, I'll just say this. If you're watching this right now and you're eating highly processed meats, stop, right? The nitrates in there are very bad for you.
Yeah.
Education is the key to a longer life. I mean, I truly believe that. And education is the key to a better future for you and your kids. And, if health is what governs your lifespan, education is what's going to govern your health span. And
Here we go.
I want to bring that to as many people as I can, while ensuring that the enterprises of the world get what they want out of this as well, which of course is less cost on backhaul, a better TCO, faster, better, cheaper, better cloud on ramps. So both can be achieved.
Awesome. I love it. I have no doubt you'll be able to accomplish it. This is so fascinating, Cole. It's been great discussion with you today. Thanks so much for your time. Where can everyone learn more about you or reach out to you, like LinkedIn or your corporate website?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you can visit vapor.io, www.vapor.io. And I think I'm just Cole Crawford, no spaces, after LinkedIn.com. So.
Very good. Very good. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Own Your Zone podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.